Welcome to a video lecture on the functions of marketing, presented by Ed Grochowski. Basically, when we talk about the functions of marketing, there are 8 different tasks that can be performed in the area of marketing or by your marketing department. And some of these tasks are probably things that you probably would say, yeah, that makes sense. And some of them are probably going to be things like you didn't realize that that was considered or came out of marketing. And so the first task that we're going to talk about, the first function we'll talk about, is in the area of buying. Then we'll talk about selling, transporting, storing, standardizing and grading, risk-taking, financing, and securing marketing information. And now we're going to break down each one of these areas specifically. When we talk about buying, we're ensuring that product offerings are available in sufficient quantities to meet customer demands. Now, this can be done in one of 2 ways depending on how the organization is set up. Now, obviously, buying, if you're looking from a business to consumer or what we're used to in a retail sense, obviously, as consumers, we get frustrated if we go to a store and they don't have enough stock on hand. And so a lot of times, business owners might be excited, oh my gosh, we sold out after 15 minutes. Well, that's good and bad. It's good that you had demand to sell out what you had in 15 minutes, but if you sold out that quickly, what that means is you didn't do an efficient job in purchasing, and you didn't order enough. And so when we look at the buying function, we're looking at how close can we get to equal in regards to our supply and demand. And so we don't want to have any left on hand, but also we don't want customers coming in and not having anything on the shelves. And so it kind of falls as a back and forth. The other area where buying might come in is if we're a manufacturing company and we're manufacturing a product to send out to our customers, we want to make sure that we have enough parts ordered to send that piece out. The other thing that's going to we're going to look at is how does our purchasing department affect this idea of our brand? Meaning, what is the quality that we are going to be purchasing? Where do we want our product to be in that brand continuum? Do we want to be considered low quality, low price, or do we want to be high quality, high price? So we have to kind of determine where we want to be. And so all those decisions are done in the buying process. Even if you're buying bolts, there might be 300 different grades of bolts. And so if you go to a lower end bolt, the benefit to you is it's a cheaper component of the product that you're manufacturing. The downfall is that bolt might be the thing that causes the problem for constant breakdowns. And so then you're going to build a reputation or brand based off of how you build that product. And so do you want to be more of a quality product, or do you want to be more considered as a less quality product? So all those components fall in that area of buying. And next we're going to look at selling. Now, so we're going to use some promotion, but it's really personal selling and sales promotions to match products to customer needs. And that's going to be done through the personal sales and personal communication with your customers, having a sales force that goes out there to sell a product or service. And so those are the issues that falls under the sales component. Now, price, we'll talk about later, but price becomes part of the sales component. How much are we offering the product for? What type of quantity discounts may we offer? What type of compensation are we giving our salespeople? How does that compensation affect our profitability? What are the expectations of the customers in regards to customer service? What do they want from their sales staff? All those items come into this selling component. The next we're going to talk about probably an area where you really didn't think of it as a marketing function. A lot of textbooks might call it transporting. It's really this whole idea of supply chain. How are we getting our product to our customers? And so how are we moving the products from their point of production to locations convenient for purchasers? One thing that makes Walmart a good example of marketing has really a lot to do with their transporting their distribution system. They have a very high-tech distribution system that includes technology that we'll talk about later, but we call RFID tags, where they can pretty much, through their computer, look up where any shipment is at any given time. They know they can GPS it out to exactly where that is, which warehouse it may be sitting in, and allows them to distribute those products to other stores and other warehouses in a much more efficient pattern. So much so, they've developed this system that this program that they've written themselves for their warehousing efforts. And as a vendor, you have to sign a couple forms. One form basically saying you agree to use their system. Form B is you agree not to tell anybody how the system is set up. And so it's very proprietary, and they really feel it's one item that has a very big competitive advantage to them, almost like KFC feels about their secret recipe. Walmart feels the same way about their warehousing procedures. Next, storing. That was the transporting piece. What type of trucking are you going to be using? Storing is how are you going to warehouse? Are you going to have a distribution system set up? Are you going to use a JIT system? And so transportation, storing, those two functions are going to work hand in hand. When we talk about just in time, that means we're receiving all the product that we need that day to produce. And so we're not going to have a lot of storage. Automobile companies went to a just-in-time approach, so they didn't have to pay for large areas of storage. And so how are you going to warehouse or create and store products? From a retail sense, we've even changed, and we look at the way our stores are set up. In the mid-'80s, a lot of retail locations were set up in a 85 or 90 to 10 or 15. And basically what that meant was 90% of your store was, or 90% of your physical location was retail space, 10% was actual storage space. The one place that I managed, we were at about a 95 to 5 ratio. And so we had very little back room. So once we got merchandise on the floor, or we got deliveries coming in, it all had to go on the floor. So during the holiday season, we really had to cram our sales racks because we didn't have room in the back room. And so that creates a whole litany of problems of your product not being shoppable. And so especially in clothing retailing, they have really gone to an 80, 20, 75, 25 type of a format where it's really creating an understanding that it is valuable to have that storage space because it makes the store more shoppable. Standardizing and grading. How do we create quality throughout our product line or throughout our brand? What are we doing to standardize our procedures? And a lot of times we think of standardization from the side of production. And there's different production quality standards like ISO 9000 to follow to make sure that we're meeting that standardization. A lot of times we don't think of standardization from the soft side or the customer service side. But is it important for us to have procedures so when a customer comes in, regardless of who they are dealing with, that they receive that same experience every time they're in our location? And so we want to make sure that we standardize our procedures across the board, across the company. And this does a couple things. From an employment standpoint, it allows us to know exactly what is expected of us. From a customer perspective, they know exactly what they're going to get. Think of McDonald's and Taco Bell. They are very standardized in how they deliver their product. And from a franchise perspective, they want to make sure that the McDonald's in Racine is making their burgers the same way the McDonald's in Kenosha and the same way the McDonald's in Elkhorn are making their burgers. And how do they do that? They standardize the process. They standardize and say you only can buy meat from these specific approved vendors. You only can buy the bread from these specific approved vendors. They've got the little guns out there. You get one splick. I guess, is that a technical term, splick? But you get one little of ketchup. You don't get two. because the recipe says you get one. And so you want to make sure that no matter where you go, no matter what country you're in, if you're ordering a quarter pounder from McDonald's, it is going to taste exactly the same way no matter where you get it from. And that's that standardization piece.